you got your camera on.
I can take care of that. How do I? Fuck. Hold on a minute.
Oh God. Your camera's still on.
There's a stop and start cam thing at the bottom. Just
I got
pop that. Jesus Christ. Ugh.
Hi.
Zach,
Hey, Zach.
we're waiting. Greg has joined twice with his camera on, and he's left each time instead of closing the camera.
So it says that we're live. So
No, we're not actually.
Okay, there you
Am I
go.
back? Everything
There you
okay?
are.
Fuck all. Now I think we got to put a new link up, don't we?
Yes.
Jesus
Yes.
Christ.
Let's
All
not do that
right.
again.
Huh?
Let's not do that again. Well, I mean, it should be.
I'm
Should
going to
the
link
YouTube-
in the old chat to the new one, to the new show.
All
and see
right.
if that works.
Also post on the boards just in case people.
Yeah,
back there.
definitely update the thread.
yeah, put a tweet out.
Oh, fuck.
Everything where you put it out before, you should do it again.
Okay, well, you guys carry on. I'll be with you in a second here.
For what it's worth, report from a listener, my girlfriend, said that she didn't understand the calls, but the talk between the four of us was just fine. So I don't know if we needed to do that at all, but here we are.
All right, go to the boards. Jesus, this is fucking ridiculous. Basically a lounge report. All right. New link is up with a horrible shot of my camera covered up, Mike and Andy. All right. What else?
All right.
Fuck.
Whatever, man. We're going. So
Well, what were we talking about?
I don't even remember.
I don't know. I'll submit a new question for your
Hold-
No, what was the last question you had to us? Because it was about
it was about paying for the board.
Right.
Basically,
Oh,
like
right.
That's
Yeah.
what we were. Well, yeah, my thought is kind of the same as when we talked about Patreons in the first place, where it's like there. I don't think there's the simple function of being on the board. I don't think if that's something that I paid for, right? Like
Mm.
I would. It's not like it's extra content that we're getting from this thing. It's just the message board.
Mhm.
Well, sure, but from the perspective of, I feel like very few message boards have a population to the scale of this one. Plus, potentially with more revenue towards the site, you could give us further options like uploading images in your posts instead of linking externally, which would, especially for concepts and things like that,
Right.
better
The
serve.
thing-
But
It's not like the site is ad supported. Obviously,
sure,
it wasn't
but the
enough.
ads apparently are just cancer. And
I don't have any problem with the ads. It's really weird. I don't know if it's because of the browser I'm using and all that, but
So look at what LMU says. LMU says there were donations back in the day that Tank burned potentially thousands of dollars. Now, to confuse the extent that Tank had influence, I know that he had some sort of relationship.
There is a reason that Tank was allowed to get away with the stuff that he got away with as long as he did.
Well, yes, he was the
really,
Sports Encyclopedia was the official sponsor of the Sports in General threads.
Sure,
Yeah.
but how did Tank get any sort of get his fingers in any of the pies of thousands of dollars? Like, I mean, I don't know if LMU is just exaggerating, or if that's or if there's
No.
legitimately something
I've heard that as well. So
that confuses me. I'd like to know the logistics of how that worked. I mean, if he,
I think at one point he was just spending his money on food and the CCSLC.
I think
Okay.
I remember. No, I thought this was addressed. And I think Chris himself said that Tank had that there was no, quid pro quo going on with all that. That's what I'd heard anyway. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I'm still sitting out every fucking thing I can think of to let everybody know we're back live again.
the
For fuck's sake. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's right. The issue of paying for access to a message board. I mean, like, I feel like it'd be one thing to have, if you wanted to be a contributor, I feel like it wouldn't be too much to ask, depending on how much it was.
Right.
But if you wanted to just read the chat, or rather just read the threads, like a read-only account, like a lurker tier account, then sure, that would make sense to have that be free.
Yeah. Well,
but-
I'm trying to think. What sort of paid message boards have you seen? Because the only one that I can think of is college football related. Rivals.com.
Okay.
Yeah, is that still around?
Yeah, and every time I see I follow some of the Rivals writers on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting college football information I'd like to know. And then you click on it, and it takes you to essentially what's a message board thread with the original post being the article itself. And so if we were in a situation where the sportslogos.net operated like that, where I was paying to get logo information, I might be on board to do that. But as it is right now, like paying to talk to other people about logos, like I can do that on Twitter if I really wanted to,
I agree. I feel like, obviously it's very difficult to, get people to pay for simply not having an ad version of the website. I don't know Chris's financial situation. I'm not going to ask him that. I'm not going to, I can't assume how expensive it would be to increase, because I think when you run, especially, I know the software, the site, the Envision software, the forum uses, or whatever it is, it's not cheap. That shit's expensive. And it gets more expensive for the bandwidth that it uses, because essentially I think you're just borrowing server space or something like that. But it's, I could see how it could be costly, and I think that's reflected in, I suggested using an ad blocker to several people in a discussion about this years ago, and Chris himself came in and was like, "You go die for suggesting that." He didn't say that, but he basically was like, "Are you an idiot? Are you telling people to block ads on my page?" It's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, Dad! I didn't mean to to piss you off."
Well, you know what? That's my. I don't have any trouble with the ads, but I think that in order for Chris to do what he does and to supply, you got to remember how many members we have just on the boards alone, and then I don't know how many people follow the actual mothership page. But I'm okay with the ads. I know that we have certain members that if they get a little bit out of shape about tech issues and maybe talk about it more than they should. But what are you going to do?
There's a handful of them.
But to me, it's
some
just
that you can label as curmudgeonly.
Yeah, if I was being generous. And I love the guy. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, he can be a bit of a curmudgeon.
He'd be a bit of a curmudgeon. At the same time, it's like he complained. It's like to the moderators. It's like, we don't deal with this stuff, guy. Like, we don't. Yeah. Our purview is not the ads. That's Chris, and that's like Chris alone.
So you guys can't do anything about that except relay that information up to him and hope he cares. And in this case,
we do.
But he's made his stance very clear on it and basically said, I guess there's some things he can do as far as the ads go, but one of the things that he does is, for example, like the ones that create a border around the screen, right? Those ads.
Yeah.
He's told us, it's like, hey, if you guys come across any of them, like, let me know and I'll take care of them. So like Chris has said, yes, like the boards need ads, but he's also said, at least to the moderators, he's told us like, hey, if any like really obnoxious ones are out there, let me know and I'll take care of it.
Right. Because they're and sometimes it's not even the border ads. I just remember there would be some, based on how you were scrolling especially on mobile, that would like, I guess my problem that I have with them would be actually on desktop, now that I think about it, because they don't load in fast enough, right? And there's always like an ad that would load in under the first topic in the list. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, I'm trying to click on the second topic. And literally my finger is pushing down on the button as the ad loads in.
I've had that happen. That I have had happen. Yeah.
Those are the only ones that really would that drive me nuts because I'm a fast clicker. You know, like I don't wait for things to fully load before I tap.
Hell no, man! It's an instant gratification society. We don't wait for shit.
Exactly.
I clicked on the thread. I want to see the thread instantly.
Now.
To be fair though, this isn't even a problem that's limited to the boards. Like the big local newspaper here, the Orange County Register, their ads on their page are horrendous because there'll be times where I click on a story, the story opens, I start reading the story, I'm like 2 paragraphs in, and then a big full page pop-up ad covers the page. And it's like, okay, it just loaded in too slow. Let me exit out. Well, then it sends me back to the top of the page. And then I start scrolling down, and then like a pop-up for sign up for the newsletter finally loads in. It's like, no, thank you. Scroll, it takes me back to the top. Scroll down to where I was, and it's just like this wave of ads that it isn't as bad on the boards. But again, when you're moving quick and you just tap too fast and you get taken away somewhere, that's one thing. And then the other problem that I know we ran into was like you've won an Amazon gift card, and would like take you away to a different page.
Hey,
those ads.
Greg, how many voicemails we have left? I just want to make sure we get everybody in.
Let's see here. We did. Hold on, I got to get out of there.
Marble and
Marble Wild Wing. Yeah, LMU. We have. Let's see here. This one's 2 minutes and 31 seconds.
Okay,
let's cue it up.
All right, you ready? Here we go.
Hi, everybody. This is Habs fan 1 from the board. First off, I'd like to say that I've been a fan of basically a sports show for a couple of years, going on a couple of years now. When it comes to sports podcasts, I've listened to a couple of good ones like Montreal Hockey Talk, but basically a sports show has been the most consistent one.
Oh, what happened? I think you ran out of time in my screen.
One that I've listened to. It's the one that's been consistent throughout a lot of years. I'm a fan of what everybody's doing on the show. It's good stuff, and I'm glad to still have it as a current podcast that I'm listening to. I'm glad the show's still going. So for a boards related question, I was trying to think of one. So this is what I came up with. I was wondering, what are your thoughts on the new NHL playoff format with COVID that happened and all the changes, and also the playoff qualifiers? What are your thoughts on that? Now
you're not done yet. All right, I think we get the gist.
Yeah.
I will say, for a guy named Habs fan 1, that's exactly how I imagine Habs fan.
That was a Quebecois accent.
for a second there, I thought he said he listened to a podcast called Montreal Honky Talk, and I was like, unique name for a show. But I mean, I think we've talked about, and I think we kind of want to save our bullets for some of the actual hockey and sports discussion stuff for next time.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed the playoff. We'll get to that next week.
I'll just drop a teaser. I think it's kind of confusing, and I'll just leave it at that.
There are definitely confusing things to touch on, but I enjoy more playoff hockey. I don't know if this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Let's while we're here, guys. Let's cool, cocky, bad Montreal.
You're listening to Montreal Honky Talk. not Montreal Honky Tonk.
Talk.
I thought it was talk, like Montreal Honky Talk. Like two old crackers up in Montreal just like bitching about Bud Heavy or something.
Well, while we're here, let's go to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and hear from one of our other moderators.
Sure.
Hey guys, it's one of your friendly neighborhood mods, Office Glenn here, calling from the beautiful hub city of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Just wanted to maybe get a discussion going on some of the more contentious threads we've had on the boards lately.
Yes.
Given that you've got two moderators and two non-moderators there, just thought I just kind of wanted to see what you guys thought about how things were handled with there was the Kraken unveiling thread, and especially the Redskins name change thread. And just kind of wanted to see what you guys thought about what was.
Again, now this is stuff like we talked about this. This is all like the benefit of, I'm assuming the benefit of going live is that people could maybe get privy to this stuff. But like generally before we start the show, and I mean, I'm assuming it's been this way for years. I've only been quote unquote back for a few weeks, a few months or whatever. But we'll sit there and we discussed a lot of the Redskins / Washington football team stuff, as it was happening before the show started, before we ventured in and talked about it in the show proper, as in terms of from a meta standpoint. But I'd have to have. I'm very curious to let Greg and Mike elaborate more on. Especially, let's go with the Washington thing first, since that's such a big moment.
That's been a thing on the boards for ages.
Well, I got to say this first off, and I'll say this to Dennis and Mike. How funny would it have been if when he said Redskins, it came up with that crazy gibberish sentence that Dennis and I put together instead, and ran through the whole thing.
What was it? The player front office or coaching staff member of the Washington NFL
Possibly
football team,
cheerleader, blah blah blah. I went through this whole thing. I just thought that would have been hilarious. But Mike, there were some real bad things that happened in that thread. But to be completely honest about it, from my perspective, it was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be going in.
No, that's actually my take. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. Which, given how bad that it could get at times, is perhaps telling. But here's the thing. There have been people, and I fully admit I'm one of them, who have been waiting for this name to go away almost since joining, right? Like I joined 2003. It was probably around 2004, 2005 when I actually started to become aware of the world around me and issues of general importance. I was like, maybe teams named after racial slurs shouldn't be a thing. And so, there were a lot of people, again, myself, one of them who, for over a decade have been waiting for, this to happen. And then of course there are people who have been advocating for this name to change, in the real world, who have been going at it for far longer. But just in terms of the boards, and then there were people on the other side, people who were like, if they ever change the name, it's the death knell of American football. And I'm not going to name names, but there are some posters who I was convinced had a blaze of glory, racist ass post ready to go in case this ever happened. And I'm honestly shocked that we didn't see very much of that. We saw a bit of it, but we didn't see as much as I thought.
I think I want to say, it was probably a lot for one thread when you break it down compared to the average on the boards, but considering the amount of trouble we'd had with that particular team and that particular name over the years and the whole Native American imagery thing as a whole, I think maybe 4 people got suspended out of the whole thread, maybe 5. It wasn't that many.
Were there any bans that stemmed to that, or only suspensions?
Only suspensions, as far as
suspensions, and pretty mild ones, honestly.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
I think the most brutal one was maybe a month long, but the rest of them were a week, 2 weeks. But the what I thought was really
I'm gonna post the actual what it said if you said Redskins on the boards. There you go.
But I really liked what I really liked about that thread, aside from being pleasantly surprised, was that I think it kind of gave us a template for how to deal with the native naming issue going forward, because it used to be that it's full stop, we don't talk about it.
Well, I was going to ask, because we've had a politics ban on the boards for so long, the Native American discussion ban predated even the politics ban, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's how contentious it was that it couldn't, like, Indians, Washington, Braves, none of it could be talked about without somebody just losing their goddamn mind.
And but see, that's the thing that I kind of like about how the way this Washington thread went is that we kind of established a system whereby it's like, we're not gonna ban the topic. The topic is here if you want to talk about it, but we're gonna ban the people who make spectacles of themselves. And
Well,
so,
we
like
made it.
like you said, Zach. Like you said, like some people couldn't talk about it without losing their minds, and
They
for the
couldn't
longest,
help themselves.
yeah, they couldn't help themselves. And for the longest time, we banned the discussion because of that. But I think going forward, just due to how that thread went, we can start being like, okay, no, we can have these threads. We can talk about these topics. And if it's just that if you're an ass about it, we'll just suspend you.
Because even around the time of the ban, I remember there were some threads that got started, and it's like, wow, I'm actually very proud of everybody. We got to page 3, and nothing's gone wrong.
And then
3, 2, 1, somebody comes in.
damn PC liberals ruining the country, and
I
it's
know.
like, oh,
I think once we got like 5 pages in, it's like, hey, we're doing it, guys, and then it just it didn't work.
We made it pretty clear from the start too. I think I don't remember if it was Glenn or Dennis, just one of them put an announcement in that thread that we're going to do this, but if you step out of line, and and we're going to leave that at our discretion, we're going to come down swiftly and furiously upon you. And that's pretty. I think a lot of that kept it in line, but there were still people that, despite being warned and being told, like, look, we're not going to tolerate this, still couldn't help themselves.
No.
Still couldn't do it.
And they never will.
The thing that sucked too was that it had become such a discussion point at so many different times, like whether it was Washington, Cleveland, or University of North Dakota. Like there was always something to talk about it, and I think I think there was a group of people that I could even include myself in, where it's like I feel terrible that we can't even have the discussion,
Right.
mhm.
but people just couldn't help themselves. I thought it would have been good for the community to have those discussions and actually like get it all out at a certain
Mhm.
point, but nobody could do it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with part of the reason it was successful was that there were a number of moderators in like prepared and active and
Oh,
working
yeah.
in tandem to like sweep the blatant the blatant stuff aside. And I mean, if you had like maybe 2 mods, you couldn't handle. I mean, maybe 2 really like mods. I guess you'd have to have a ton of time. But like when you had 4 or 5 guys just watching that thread pretty much exclusively just to like boom, 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 you guys go.
I think just like maybe like 10 minutes before the thread went live, and Greg can confirm this in the mod channel, in the mod only sub forum, I posted the GIF from Jurassic Park, Samuel L. Jackson, hold on to your butts. Like this is
and how we handled it, Andy, it was we used a secret Majestic 12 strategy, like a ninja, kind of like special forces. That's why we were able to basically mobilize and move as quickly as we did, because we unleashed what essentially is the Majestic 12 version of the Navy SEALs. So that's how we did it.
Well, don't say too much, Greg. I don't want you to put yourself in jeopardy.
I'm okay. It was surprisingly, to get back to Glenn's original point, it wasn't great, but it was still way better than I think any of us thought it would be, if that makes sense.
Well, to Greg's other point, though, so he brings up the obviously inflammatory nature of the Redskins thread. What about the Kraken thread was, how did... I mean, yeah, it was a big deal, but was it mostly because people just hated the Kraken brand? Was that it? Or
I think it has to do, and honestly, and you know what, this guy can get mad at me if he wants, if he even ends up listening to this. Sparky Chewbacca can get fucked. But
wait.
He's been a problem, but this is like a carryover, right?
Yeah, this is
he was a problem during the whole lead up to the Vegas stuff.
Yeah, the Vegas stuff, the stupid fucking belt buckle picture.
So wait a minute.
Baby.
Let me.
I'm living. I'm riding or dying with the fucking Aces. I'm sorry.
Maybe I didn't get. Maybe I was totally out of the loop on this. But like, so this Sparky Chewbacca guy, who, in my opinion, he does some okay stuff, but I had no idea he was such a horse's ass. And until I talked to you guys and I drop his name, and you're like, that fucking guy, I mean, I don't know anything about him.
Okay.
I don't. His ass. It's just like it started with the Vegas stuff, because for the 2 years leading up to it, he designed this logo for the Las Vegas Aces, and he showed it off in as many different settings as he could. And the one that he kept like posting was like, "Look, it looks great on a belt buckle. It's gonna be the Aces. It needs to be the Aces. It has to be the Aces. Look at this belt buckle, belt buckle, belt buckle, belt buckle." And eventually we're just like, "Oh my god, will you shut the fuck up?" It's like, it's not going to be that. They said it's not going to be anything, around gambling. And then it comes out, like Golden Knights comes out, and he's still posting about the goddamn belt buckle.
Yeah.
And it's like, enough with you.
It's like I found a picture of a hot chick and I put the Aces logo on the belt buckle. Does it look good, guys? It's like
that's the thing. It wasn't even that it was just a belt buckle. It was like a belt buckle on an illustration of a sexy woman.
Yeah.
It's like, look how good it looks on a sexy belt buckle. Like, that's not. And because he was so convinced that how good it was that he's like, no, but look at it. And it's like,
the owner of the Golden Knights actually made a passing reference to it, and it wasn't in a good way. Like the owner of the Golden Knights did an interview back when they were still trying to figure out like what name they would have, but we all knew it was going to be something Knights. Mm-hmm. But like someone, I guess, asked like, have you heard about like Aces as a potential name? And he's like, oh yeah, so like there's this one guy who's really been pushing Aces. He's come in contact with the team, and basically like the owner was trying to be very politely say he keeps bugging us and we want to go away.
Was that Sparky doing that?
Yes.
Oh
yes,
that is great.
Yes.
I just Dennis posted in the chat here. I thought we banned that dude. He's coming back.
No, yeah, we suspended him.
I thought he was banned. Shit. Well, okay.
So the reason we suspended him, and this ties into the Kraken thing, right, is that Sparky, had his own Seattle NHL concepts thread, right?
Yeah.
Which was separate from the Kraken discussion. And what happened was Sparky got into some contentious arguments in the official Seattle NHL thread, and that's whatever. People get into disagreements all the time. It doesn't really mean anything. But then, I got DMs where people were going, "Hey, you're a mod. Could you look into this thread? People, Sparky is talking basically shit behind people's back, like because he was going into his Seattle NHL concepts thread and being like, oh yeah, this person and that person over there, like they're the mafia. They don't like me because of my opinions." And then all I did was I came into the thread and I was like, Sparky, like, if you got problems with people, use the report function. If you think someone has said something to you that you think is like too far, use the report function and the moderators will look at it. Don't use your personal thread to badmouth other people. And he basically told me to go fuck myself.
Oh, he didn't basically tell you that. He told you that.
He's like, don't you tell me what threads for what. Like, go fuck yourself. And then he told, and then someone else, the Get Along Gang, SF Giants actually, he liked my post, or I told, I told Sparky to like, please use proper channels to deal with people who you have problems with. Oh, that's
right, yeah. And then
he's like, that's just like your greasy sidekick. I'm like, what the fuck is your problem, guy? Like, and so I think like a lot of the contention is, and even though Sparky Chubaki has been banned for a few months, and he's going to be banned for a few months more until his suspension runs out, I think that a lot of the negativity around the Kraken name comes with him because, like, the name Kraken was always contentious. There were always people who really liked it, and there were people who thought it was dumb. And those disagreements happened. But I didn't feel like it got toxic until Sparky came on and basically started shoving not just the name Kraken, but his version of the name Kraken into his logos and everything. He never got as far as the belt buckle picture, but he was still doing that same shtick where he's like, look what I've done, I have created magnificence. And he was really just spamming everything, and it got to the point where it became a toxic presence. And I feel like even after we suspended him, that toxicity never really went away. I would also say that Sparky has a few like diehard followers on the boards who really don't help things, because they go into every thread this guy does in the concept section and they tell him like, you
He's one of the
are,
few designers that can make like a clean line.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. But they're like, you are amazing. You should, like, we need to get you in front of an NHL team. And it's like, no wonder. It's like, if you're just like a guy who, as Zach said, you know how to make a clean line in an image editing program, and you make okay looking concepts, and then suddenly everyone tells you you're the greatest thing, like, it's kind of understandable that he got this inflated ego. But the thing about Sparky Chewbacca, and we don't like to use lounge reports to trash on people, but the amount of grief this guy caused, fuck it, and I doubt he's even going to listen anyway, so whatever. Like we have talked about it, like you take some of his logos, right? Put them into a image that contains like other NHL logos. I'd say like maybe 5% of the logos he does are like really, it's like, oh yeah, I could see that. The rest are really not great. In my opinion, at least. The dude can make really nice illustrations. The dude has some really creative ideas, and ideally, the dude could just be a prolific contributor to our concept section. But he doesn't know when to let it go, and he doesn't know when to just stop, and he gets really combative, and he gets really opinionated in some of the worst ways. And when he's telling a moderator who's just like, hey, could you just use the report function instead of back talking people? He then just, when he tells said moderator to go fuck himself, it's like, no, you need a break. You need a break, guy. So
yeah, I just looked it up. We suspended him for 6 months. I could have swore he was banned. I don't want,
back next month. Back in September 16th. What LMU said.
I look forward to
15th.
that. I predict nothing but good things.
right.
There are certain, and this kind of, anytime you bring up the discussion of a message board, there's always a sub community of people that feel like they have some sort of freedom and some sort of right, and that if you're on a message board, that the same rights that apply in the Constitution or whatever, that those apply to you here.
That's always my favorite argument.
Freedom of speech. Yes.
Right. It's like, listen, you cannot censor me, moderator. I am a user. I am an American citizen. I get the freedom of speech. And it's like, no, you don't. You are not. This is not a fucking democracy. You are not special. Goodbye. Like people just don't want to accept that. It's like, listen, man, this is like it's like a store. It's like being kicked out of a store. It's like, this is a relatively private place.
Don't you see the maple leaf on the logo? This is an American guy.
Who was the guy? Who was the guy that
and sickle?
We ended up suspending him too? I think it was in the Washington thread where he started going off about free speech, and he just kept. It was like I kept saying, look up free speech and see what it really means. And he kept going on and on, and then he finally goes, "There's no free speech here." And I went, "Now you finally get it.
You get it, all right."
But he ended up, and then when he finally gave up, and he was like using the Constitution to defend himself, and then he finally came back and said the fucking Constitution is a joke and blah blah blah, and it doesn't mean anything. I don't remember who it was, but
again, even if he wants to defend the Constitution and say that, I mean, this is a thing elsewhere, but like. Yeah, you can say whatever you want on the message board. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get punished for it.
Right. How many? Sorry to keep pining about voicemails. I just want to make sure we get them all in here.
Right. Yeah, we got one more. We're going to get SF Giants 58, and he called late. But here we go. Ready?
Okay. Sure.
All right. Let me try that again. There we go.
Hi, this is SF Giants 58 coming in. Hopefully not too late for this one. Just want to say hi to you guys, and yeah, hope you don't say too much weird, nasty shit about me, I guess. Yeah, probably worthy of having some stuff said about me and all the weird references and that sort of thing. But, it's just good to chime in with you guys, and I'm hopefully going to be getting back to concept soon. That whole jam, all that stuff. Really love you guys. Love the show. Really nice to call in. And yeah, good talking. I'll see you soon.
Well, first off, I got to say, dude's got a good voice.
I'll say I not again another person who I wouldn't expect him to sound like he did. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You guys probably have more to say about him than I do. I feel like we've kind of been up and down with him.
I would just say that SF Giants, I'd like you to get back to the concepts as soon as possible, because you're one of the few people who I actually like in the concept section these days. The concept section, we've talked about this before, has like really not been what it once was, but you're like one of the few people who does stuff that I legitimately like to keep up with. So please continue.
I'll just say, I mean, he mentioned the weird references he makes. We give him a hard time about it, but it's all good natured. I mean, nobody's like, we're not like, oh, what an asshole or anything like that. Not at all. I think he's one of the and I'm sorry. Well, everybody in here is a good poster, basically, so I don't have to worry about it. But he's a good poster. The references thing, I just think it's funny. I don't get any of them, but I think it's fun when we kind of like give him a little shit about it. But I mean, I hope he doesn't take it personally. But yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about him.
I see. I think I'm in the weird part of the Venn diagram where like I don't get most of the references, but at the same time I do kind of naturally have this curiosity about like obscure stuff. And
scared me. He scared me away from that shit. Like he goes, you don't want to go here. I'm like, okay, I'm not going.
No, it's like he'll push something up where it's like I have no idea what it is, but it's like, oh, I'm now interested.
Yeah. No, there's plenty of time. Like I consider myself a worldly person of the internet.
Zach's Tabs, right? So there you go.
Yeah, the long gone segment of Zach's Tabs. But like, yeah, I know of the internet controversies, and sometimes he brings something up that's even like a little too out there for me. But it's like, no, I see that. I see where these things are. Or various internet personalities and their taboos and whatever.
LMU, why would you ask that question? Just no.
The answer is playing for him underneath. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, not having a beer with anyone here.
I would say we were testing out this stuff. At least me, Zach, and Greg were. This was probably a week or so ago, and me and Zach and Greg all had our webcams on for like 10 minutes, and I don't know. I mean, I've seen you guys. I know what you look like generally, but it was weird to actually have somewhat of a face-to-face conversation with everybody for like it was just for like 5 minutes, and I don't know. It was just kind of one of those weird things where we've talked to each other for whatever the better part of 10 years or so, and it's like, oh, you're a human being. I'm looking at you right now, and you're talking to me. Okay,
you're a human being. Oh yeah. Some opinions and
no, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And Zach mentioned that like we look like every other podcast that's ever been created. Just a bunch of white guys just kind of hanging out talking.
Yeah, that's one reason why we've decided against no webcams, because it's just like okay, so you get 4 white dudes with various levels of facial hair in boxes with headsets.
Especially mine, because since the headphones broke in my headset, I have an actual like a thin pair of headphones on underneath it, so I look like I'm wearing like this totally like hillbilly rigged fucking.
Do you look like Jerry Glanville, the Tampa Bay Vipers?
Not exactly, but kind of, yeah.
So we probably have Greg's cat behind him.
Yeah, the cat loves to get on camera, but yeah, I literally am wearing 2 headsets, Mike. Yes, so
Andy has the bookshelf.
Yeah, bookshelves and my dogs just making noise.
Yeah, if I wanted to, I could set up the wall with the Funko Pops and DVDs and whatever behind me.
The weird thing is, like, if you look at Andy's camera and mine, the carpet in the room that we're both in are exactly the same colors. It looks like we're in the same room almost. Like he's on one side and I'm on the other. It's really kind of weird, but anyway.
I have another question for you guys, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Do you recall your worst post and or the worst take you've ever made on the board?
God, well, you've got as many as I do. I don't even know how you begin.
I think mine has been documented. The Admiral, basically, that was sort of the collective answer to what mine was just like years of just Blackhawks bullshit. And
I will say there have been a couple times, maybe more than a couple, where I've been pretty rough on one of the members of the boards that I really wish I could take back now.
No,
Because-
don't take back. No,
Is
don't
that-
accept.
No,
is that person,
I
is
have
that person
retreat.
still a member?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
I won't give. Well, I'm pretty sure everybody probably can gather who. Maybe not, and maybe that's a good thing. But he's. I don't know. It's just that's who Brian in Boston. Going way back to the beginning of the first episode of the show here, when Brian sent me a PM, that was because I'd gone off on him again. And Brian's like, dude, you can't do that anymore. And I did a mod for like 2 years at that point. I was like, yeah, Brian, you're right. But yeah, I'd like to get some of those back. Some of the fights I've had, I'd love to like reel back in. But like I said, I've had a lot of horrible takes. I mean, shit,
Yeah, I think
you're talking 30 some thousand posts or whatever that number is, or 20 or whatever it is. None of them, 10 of them are good. The rest are garbage, I think.
yeah, nothing huge stands out because when it comes to like, I don't think I've even been threatened with a suspension before. So I think the only stuff that I can think of is kind of what we were talking about earlier, where like as a younger guy, you're angry on the internet and you just argue with people about crap. So I know for a fact there are plenty of times where like I would take something a little too personally, maybe, and then something that could just be a post that you ignore.
What do you mean? What do you mean Anaheim's part of Los Angeles?
That was kind of the stuff I was going to lean into. Was the Mighty Ducks conversations we had were kind of whatever, but like there were times where I just would not let the argument of the Anaheim LA thing die.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was just like, no, you don't understand. You're not from here. You don't get it. And now I just be like, fine, whatever, dude. Like you just at a certain point you just gotta learn when to ignore it. I think that's the only thing I could think of that I would do. And then there's plenty of times where like once I thought that I was accepted by the board community,
Sorry, well done, Dennis.
It says the resident of Torrance. But like I think like there's I'm thinking of like certain members that have like Blaze of Glory threads that maybe you made fun of one or too many times.
Oh, those don't count. No.
Like, do I feel bad for making fun of Panhead?
No, fuck no.
No.
When you do a Blaze of Glory thread, all bets are off, baby. Even as a moderator, I'll say that. I mean, I can't endorse it, and I can't tell you to do it, but I'm gonna say, you know what, it's gonna happen, and what are you gonna do? We'll fix it when we get to it.
I feel like you should get that on a tank top or something, Greg. Just all bets are off, baby, and just have like just I don't know. I just feel like that'd be a good. You almost need some sort of like on the board to where it says like this is a hot thread or whatever. Just have a tag on a post that says like all bets are off. Yeah.
I think the only other one that I could feel bad about is we over the years gave it pretty hard to Kevin W. But he deserved it.
Oh Jesus, we were all pretty rough on him too.
Yeah, but he also kind of deserved it to a certain degree.
Well, he was, he's turned into a pretty solid member now. He's I think a very solid member. But
C. Rich has been a good member.
What I found interesting about him though was when we kind of gave those pardons to him and Admiral. And we went to both of them and we're like, okay, like we're gonna basically merge your old accounts and your new accounts. Like you can have your old name back. And we went to Admiral, like, hey, do you just want to be TCR again? And he was like, nah, I'll just be Admiral. Then we went to like C. Richardson. We're like, hey, we're gonna merge the Kevin W and the C. Rich accounts together. Like, which one do you want? And he's like, I want Kevin W. It's like, really? You want the one that you were like
that everybody fucking hated?
Like, I hated you? Wonder, like, okay, like.
You know what? While Gary's here, I got to give him a shout out for that because Gary was telling us C. Rich was Kevin W. way before.
Oh yeah, no,
Gary was on that trail quick.
I know. I had suspicions because it's like there's too many overlaps here for this.
Chicago sports fan, Arizona, like
Chicago, Arizona, lives in San Diego. Like it just like I smell something here, but he hasn't had an argument with me personally yet. So.
How many Arizona Wildcats, Chicago Blackhawks fans are there in San Diego?
Right,
really?
that's the question.
SF Giants brings up a good point. Is that what made Brian in Boston quit? Was the Admiral?
Brian? Okay, so Brian in Boston, and I'm going to say this completely, and this actually ties in with the question. Because I got into some real nasty arguments with Brian in Boston in my younger days on the boards that I wish I could take back. Just broadly, me being, as Zach said, a young guy on the internet who wanted to argue, and I got into some arguments that probably shouldn't have gotten into. So if Brian's listening, I'm sorry, dude, my bad. But like Brian in Boston, he never really. He didn't like TCR and he didn't like Admiral, and
didn't like me either.
Didn't like me. And I'm sure he didn't like me at one point either. But the thing about it, right, is that it's my opinion. I think it's the opinion of a lot of people who were around at the time that TCR really didn't deserve the ban that he got. I mean, he did something that was probably suspension worthy, but not like ban worthy, and he kind of suspected that Admiral was TCR, and for the longest time, we really didn't have proof. When we got proof, Brian was full in. We got him, ban him, and never look back. And when the rest of the moderator team kind of reevaluated, and we were like, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe Admiral and C. Rich have been around a while, and they've obviously reformed. So maybe we should give them other chances.
Like Al Capone on tax evasion,
basically, yeah. And at that point, like when the rest of the mod team was sort of unanimous that we're going to give Admiral. I don't think Brian cared much one way or the other about C. Rich / Kevin W. But I think when we decided that we were going to give Admiral another chance, and we were just going to pardon him essentially. Brian, and again, I got nothing against Brian. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a really smart guy. But he had a thing with Admiral. He didn't like him, and I think that when the rest of the mod team said we're going to bring Admiral back, we're going to let him come back, he just said, "That's it, I'm out," and we brought in Greg.
I was going to say, I know it was either Brian or Machba that I replaced.
Oh, wait, no. It was Machba that you replaced. Sorry. No, you were, because I remember you were in the conversation with Brian in Boston when we were discussing the Admiral thing.
Okay, well, Machba and I get along a lot better now than we used to, so it's probably not the arrow through his heart that it would have been, like, say, 5 years ago if I'd taken his place. But yeah, the TCR Admiral thing was like the worst kept secret in the history of the boards. Everybody knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody. It was like there was no big secret. And I think I remember when he got banned, I'm thinking, well, rules are rules, I guess. But, and then you guys, I had no problem with the mod team at the time reversing the decision and go, no, we're not doing this. And bringing back C. Rich too, or Kevin, whatever the fuck he goes by now. But it was a crazy time, that whole little thing there, because how did that even come to happen? That, like, all of a sudden everybody had evidence on Admiral and C. Rich and the whole bit.
Well, Admiral basically called himself out in the thread, didn't he?
Yeah.
I as his lawyer, I will tell you that he never ever said. Yes,
as the lawyer for the Admiral, he has never admitted.
When he did that, I appointed myself as legal representative. I said, if you note, he never said I did anything. He said, this is what happened.
My client is innocent.
That's right.
Have nothing.
You can. I will stand by.
Nothing will ever be as blatant as TC 2.0. I used to be Top Cat.
Yeah.
And then I got banned, and now I'm back.
Good.
I mean, you got to respect, like, to me, the sheer balls of such a brazen, like, I used to be banned. I'm back, baby.
I don't think he was being brazen, though. I think it was one of those things where he just blurted it out, didn't realize what he'd done. That's the way I took it anyway.
That's right. Oh my God, I remember this now. That was such a. I remember it was almost, people were dumbfounded, like, you idiots. You've
been back. You've been
you pulled out a loaded gun and said, "Look at my gun," and you shot yourself in the head.
But
you idiots!
I remember Slapshot. I think that's still up in the mod thread on the boards. But Slapshot had the best response to that. I can't remember what it is now, but he was the one that. It was just great. But yeah, the guy was just like, I think it was in the how did you get your username thread?
Yeah.
He goes, well, I used to be Top Cat, and then
But going to what Dennis said, I think finally we got IP matches on both of them that confirmed it.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Could you imagine though? I mean, the outcry. Well, I don't know. I don't remember what happened now. I mean, I'm sure there was some outcry about Admiral, but I just couldn't imagine those boards without him. You know, and I've had my moments with him over the years. But
if you go back, I think actually the thread might be archived. It was the old. I forget what it was called, but it was the thread that we kept open where people could bitch about moderators, like for a while.
The Banhammer thread.
The Banhammer, that was it. But if you go back at the time, I think like a lot of people were upset that Admiral got banned, and like I remember, I made a post. Like I was the person on the mod team who had to come out and explain that we were reversing the decision, letting Admiral back in. And I started off by saying, like, you know, we had the assumption, you know, that rules were rules, but then after thinking about it, you know, we made a mistake. We're letting him come back, and we're sorry. And I think at that point, like Bring Back the Vet came in, and it was like, he quoted my post. He's like, when I was first reading this, I thought I was going to have to tear you a new one, but I'm happy to see that moderation made the right choice.
Wow, you got credit for Bring Back the Vet. I wish I'd been a mod for that because this never happened since.
You were.
Not for Admiral, I wasn't. No,
weren't you? I thought you were.
No. But Brian, I know. I think Adam was that when you brought Adam in after Brian quit.
No, Adam was a bit later. I remember like the current iteration of the mod team started with myself, LMU, and Crash Carson. Like we were the three that were brought in because like there was a time many years ago when like the moderation team was very inactive and it was kind of a mess. And Chris was like, well, I guess we need more moderators. And LMU, myself, and Crash Carson got selected. And we started kind of doing what we could to clean things up. And then as members of the old team retired, we brought on new people. But I can't remember the exact order that new people were brought in on. I think Adam was before you, Greg.
I know he was before me. That's what I'm saying.
The Instagram invasion, right? Yes.
Who the hell did I took Makwa's place? Makwa just like said, "Fuck it, I'm done." It wasn't like a rage quit or anything like that, right?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think there was any big thing that caused him to quit.
Or I guess KJ now, not Makwa anymore. But you know,
well, that's another thing we need to discuss.
Right,
the name change. And I mean, this may be, I don't know how much longer you guys want to go, but I probably got to wrap it up here in the next like 10 odd minutes. But the name change thing has really, and I mean, when it came up, it was kind of a cool thing at first. I thought it was kind of a neat option.
The first time around when we voted on it, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. But now, you know, it's almost like when the opportunity comes to change your name, like it did. Like I have immense regrets. I cannot wait to change my name back. And I may just commission you moderators to change back.
Well, send us a little money and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, Risa, pay off the Majestic 12 and anything's possible.
Right. Another thing that people don't know, the Majestic 12 can be bought easily. So just want to say that for anybody.
As I tell my students all the time, you can easily, it's like I am bribable. You just can't afford what it takes to bribe me. So there you go.
But I mean, there's been a lot of like Greg said, you mentioned, I think in that thread, it's like an end of an era. It felt like, I mean, nobody's really gone. It's just like the familiar name when you see somebody posted it.
There's certain things where it's like Mike, you got rid of the underscore in your name, right?
Yeah, I got rid of the underscore.
Or some people might like make their full thing. Like Bring Back the Vet is way too long. BTTV is fine because there's a brand there.
Yeah.
Or you Chicago Sean is CS85. That's fine. But when we get things like McCarthy to Sport. Or
Adam, let me throw this in really quick while Dennis is talking about it. Adam replaced Lee. There you go. It's on the screen. Everybody read up. They can see how the session went there.
I mean, and then the truly terrible one, Buck Fan to 56.
Oh God!
Look, McCarthy, Buck Fan, and I'm using your old names for a reason. Like, you're great guys.
Not call him Buck Fan. Like,
you're great. You're great guys. Great posters. Enjoy, reading what you guys have to say. But God, you guys got, as soon as you can, go back to the old names, man. Because this isn't working for me personally. I see that Bengals avatar with the big head, and then I see the name Sport, and I feel like weird, and it's a disconnect, and I don't like it.
No,
and I mean-
those two have got to switch back. You too, Andy. Sorry, but
no,
you
no,
gotta go back.
I told you I agree. Like I checked the date just a couple weeks ago, just to be like, God damn, I can't wait to change this shit back because it just doesn't feel
Does
right.
it fit you?
Cherry
It's-
Max.
Cherry MX. It sounded okay when I was because I mean I really like sweated over trying to think of a different name and I was like I don't want to change my name and
Yeah, it's a fine user name. It's just not your username.
right. Well, I will commission the Majestic 12, and I'm curious to see once because that was kind of a brief fad for a couple weeks where people were like, I'm not this person, I'm me with my new name. And then I'm curious if next year people are like, yeah, fuck that, I'm
Yeah,
done with
it's
that
just a
gimmick.
bunch of people saying that was a mistake.
like me, like I didn't get in there, but like my board name is still capital S lowercase TILL, and then Mighty's all capital. I
Yeah.
think I'd just go back and get rid of the capital
You
letters. at this
can.
point.
I mean, you can do it now,
Yeah, I know.
but you have a year to change it back. You can't change it for a year or something. Like
Right, but what I'm saying is like I would allow like stylistic changes.
But yeah, like you can't just start, changing everything. Like it's McCarthy, it's Buck fan.
Yeah,
like
you have a
don't
brand.
See,
just
I think
change
that
things.
if you reach a certain post level, you can't change your name anymore.
Mhm.
You know, it's as simple as that. It'd be like I remember when we did the first time around when Fan was still, or was that what he was called?
Yeah, you guys are fan
Yeah.
19, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, when he was still like when he set up the name change thing and you could vote on it. I was just going to capitalize the I in it for at 41. Everyone was like, "No, don't do it." I'm like, "Okay, never mind." And yeah, so people get used to shit,
I was just so happy to finally get rid of the underscore. So
Oh, me too. I hate those fucking underscores. Hate them.
so yeah, no, I'm quite happy with my username now, which is weird because like, okay, when I signed up, I was thinking about what my username was going to be, and this was again back in 2003, and I went with Ice Cap because I wore Ice Cap branded goalie pads, and 79 was my hockey number, and I hadn't yet figured out that like numbers usually refer to birth dates, and so everyone thought I was older than I was.
Wow, they must think I'm really old.
Yeah, infrared 40, 1941.
That's right. Back in my day. Actually, what would that make me? I'd be like 90 or something right now.
You'd
Wouldn't I?
be 80, 89?
Yeah.
Numbers,
Well,
math.
If you want to, I don't encourage anyone to do this, but if you look at my profile, I think my birth date is the furthest year back you can go on the boards. It's like 1903 or something like that, so it makes you like 117 years old. But yeah, I that's funny, the 79 thing.
Yeah, you'd be 79 years old. Yeah,
That's
strangely
pretty good.
enough.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I just the voting thing was fun, and I think ideally, that would be the way to go. But like, we stopped doing that, I think, because the software broke and Fan wasn't around to fix it. So
Well, to kind of put a bow on everything for this edition of the show, the Lounge Report, which I feel like went nicely, but give or take a technical snafu. And Greg, first of all, do we have any more voicemails? By the way, we're out.
I think we do. We got one more.
Okay.
Let me find it here real quick. I'll quickly explain the snafu, but every once in a great while, my microphone will not be recognized by my computer and I have to restart it. And when I restarted it, we've got a 5G network in the house and the computer hooked up to that instead of the normal Wi-Fi that I normally use. And that's why everything went to shit the way it did. All right, here we go. Last voicemail. This is from Jeremy.
Hey guys, Jeremy here, Jer 15 on the boards. Just wanted to call in for the third edition and say, thank you guys for the weekly entertainment. And Andy, back in the day when you were doing the members podcast for a bit there too, that was lots of fun. Kind of keeping in the same frame of mind as the first Lounge Report.
Damn it. Hold on a second. Let me pick
Sure.
it back up. Oh, fuck. I have to start over again now.
I think I used to press the answering machine button.
Googling.
No, that's him. That's not me.
As it seems everybody else did. And and that's how they came across the site. My friends and I had a deck of playing cards, and it had NHL players on it, and we deal everybody out a line of players.
Oh, sorry.
Forwards and 2 defensemen, and then we play a game with dice, basically. Roll the dice, see what the score was in the game, and of course, we all had to come up with our own team name and logos, and that's how I kind of came across this community and couldn't believe that there was so many other people out there who were of the same, let's say, vintage nerdiness, whatever you want to say. Anyways, just thought I'd weigh in. Looking forward to hear from some other people. I don't really have any fun or interesting or gossip-worthy stories.
Oh, what the fuck are you? Sorry.
Never been suspended or anything like that. So I guess I'm kind of boring that way. I just
You guys can change that.
to myself. I don't take any fights.
Okay.
You can. Hey, man, if you wanna get suspended, it's easier than you might think.
Well, yeah. Not only that, we were going to do a live banning tonight, so we can make it you if you want.
A live ban. I just pull a name out of a hat and be like, all right.
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I honestly, I forgot all about the interview show I used to do. That's cool. I didn't realize
Behind the Avatar. I named that bitch, man.
You did. Yeah. I need to maybe dust that one off at some point. And
I was the first guest also, by the way.
You were. Absolutely.
I sure was, yeah. Little insider trading going on here at Basically a Sports Show.
So we got all our voicemails. I have one final closing question for you guys.
Jerry, I rambled on. Sorry, you guys.
Nah,
It's good.
it's good.
Dude, it's cool.
All good,
Don't worry
man.
about it. We got the
No
gist
worries.
of it. I would have hung up on you if it was live, but yeah, it was all right.
Hey,
Thanks
I
for-
love the
thanks for
story of how
calling.
you find the boards because everybody gets there differently. So that's fun.
Final question.
That's what I wanted to bring up when he brought that up. Has anyone ever come to those boards and not been surprised to find, maybe nowadays, but say up until the explosion of social media, did anybody show up and go, "Oh, I'm not surprised by this at all"? Everybody, we all felt the same way. It's like, oh my god, there's more of me, So that's
I agree.
kinda cool. Yeah,
I think it's rather ubiquitous. I feel like that people just, again, it's one of those things where I think it's such a personal kind of deal that you feel like, oh, I don't think anyone's really else is into this, and boom, what do you know? There's a whole sub community. It's a lot more different now because there's people who dress in mascot costumes and fuck one another. So there's something for everybody.
There is something for everybody. Yeah.
I just want to point out that Dennis has decided that Gary wins the 1 week suspension, courtesy of Basically a Sports Show. So there you go, Gary.
Congratulations.
We'll talk
Well
to you
done.
next week, bud. No. All right, so your final question, Andy. Let's
Final
wrap this bad boy up.
The CCSLC has been through many eras over the years. What do you think defines the current era of the board versus those of the past?
Ooh. It's bigger now.
Yeah,
It's not nearly as personal as it used to be.
I think
go ahead, Zach.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's bigger, and to that end, like the sports logos discussion gets kind of flooded.
Right.
Like it is hard to keep track of certain things. Things will be on the front page for 10 minutes, and then they'll get pushed to the back, or especially on logo unveiling days. We used to have like full conversations with people and really kind of break down why we didn't like it or what the problem is. Now it's just if you are in the thread, it will triple in size from the time that you open it till the time you get to the end of it.
It's and to that end, it is really disheartening, and I think I came to that realization. I forget what thread it was, but there was some uniform unveiling. And yeah, Zach, you're absolutely right. Like, it used to be smaller, and it used to be like we'd all have like these really in-depth conversations about why we thought this worked or why we didn't think this worked.
Yeah,
I made one of those posts. I think it was in one of the quote-unquote recent-ish NFL uniforms for like the last 5 years or so. And like I did this really detailed reply. It's like, yeah, I think this works, I don't think this works. And then like it was buried by like a bunch of responses that were like worst uniform ever, like puking emoji face. And it was like, oh, all right, well, fuck me, I guess. But I'd say like the big difference, and I think this actually kind of goes along with this, is that I mean, these days, outside of the forum, but it definitely affects the forum, is that uniform news is actually like legitimately big news now.
Yeah.
It used to be, right? It's actually really crazy. If you were to say like the one NFL uniform change that completely changed the game and ushered in a different way of how NFL uniforms were designed, I'd say it's probably the '97 Denver Broncos. Like, love or hate that uniform, like that started a lot of trends, right?
Mostly bad.
But if you go back and look at the unveiling of those uniforms, it's like they're in the conference room at the local Marriott, and they just have some guys there in the uniforms, and like the team GM's there. He's like, "So that's the new uniforms, right? And so what do you guys think?" And it's crazy because that was such a huge departure from what they had, and it kicked off such a design revolution. But
shit show.
But but like the actual unveiling is so low key. Like, again, it's just some guys in the Marriott conference room, and they've got like this like poorly hung team banner that says Denver Broncos behind the stage, and it's and you look at now where like teams are teasing people with close up shots of like the striping of new uniforms, and it's. Yeah. Like Greg, you and I watched the Detroit Lions unveiling live, and it was like this light show, and like people came up from podiums, and it was this huge deal. And I think that kind of goes along with it, where it used to be we were kind of like this niche little corner, and there weren't that many of us, and we all kind of talked to each other about it. And now it's such news that people there are just so many people who I think aren't necessarily interested in discussing it. They just want to get their hot takes in. Yep. So you get an unveiling, right? And people who probably wouldn't have even bothered signing up to this forum, like say 15 years ago, are now, it's like, because it's news, sign up. They have an account, and something comes up, and they just go like, "Hey, that worst uniform ever," and they move on. So I think just it becoming more mainstream has caused it to become bigger, and then has led to all of the stuff that you guys are talking about.
Hell, the mothership has daily posts, sometimes 2 or 3 a day, on sports uniform news.
And it didn't used to be that way.
It's a total small.
I remember when we had Chris on the old Logo Cast, and we interviewed him, and I said that and I think he took it the wrong way, but it was like, you are number 2 behind Paul Lucas. As far, I would put Chris right. Maybe he hasn't surpassed Lucas yet. I think he has in a lot of ways, because
Lucas has more merch.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I mean, that it's grown to that. I mean, it used to be a big deal if someone would mention the boards or the mothership anywhere, and now it's become its own self-sustaining thing. Yeah. Where it is now a source where you go for news. Whereas it used to be like, oh, this thing was on Chris Creamer's site, let's take a look at it, and blah blah. And now it's its own thing. It's huge now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It went from like this little boutique shop to this big giant fucking Walmart type deal.
And if you follow, Chris on Twitter with the Sports Logos site, it's not only a place to get Sports Logos news. It's now just this incredible resource of logo history that the teams themselves will steal from his site, because he sometimes has it documented better than they do.
So we just to wrap it up real quick, unless anybody else has got any more to say about the state of it.
Andy has to answer the question.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, no, I agree. I feel like, not to echo too many thoughts, but essentially the board is much better. You have to kind of look for the crevices and the interesting conversations and hope you see familiar faces. And it just kind of depends. When it comes to the unveiling threads, it's almost just a spectacle and a clusterfuck. And generally, I just like to hop in and just kind of see what platitudes people are taking. And generally, it's interesting to see people's immediate reaction. But at the same time, it's not niche anymore. It's very much a collective.
Can we do something about that one guy who feels the need to defend every Atlanta uniform because Jesus Christ? God damn.
Yeah. We've been around the site forever, and we have plenty of stories, plenty of all the fine people in our chat that have come in here.
For sure,
there's still people that kind of stand out from the crowd, eventually, but when it comes to just general sports logos discussion, yeah, it's just a excuse me.
Oh, it's just it's gigantic now, like an unveiling thread, like the Rams. That thing was just growing at a rate. I was like, holy shit! It's like I'd
like,
come back an hour later to be 35 new pages,
right?
You know?
And there's it's what 700 posts or something stupid, where if not more than that, or how many pages? I don't know. It's that thing in particular is just some monster to where it's almost like just be gone. Like I'm not even going to dip my toes in.
Honestly, I like those threads a lot more in the lead up to the unveilings than anything else, because there is the one thing that hasn't been exploded is the kind of the small machinations of things going up, like when something gets revealed in a catalog, like, hey, there's going to be a new uniform. Like, that's where the cycle starts, and then we all kind of build up to it, and then it hits a point where there is no news, and we repost the same conversation 200 times over, whether that's, the yellow Rams jersey, or whether that's Vancouver Canucks, Johnny Canuck or die.
I'm with Zach. We should just fold the Vancouver Canucks because, as Zach said, they haven't won anything and they can't pick a logo.
But when it comes to like the interesting conversations, I think the most interesting conversations on the board when it comes to logos are everything that's not unveilings.
Yeah,
because there is that time to kind of talk about, talk about why, as much as we hate that it keeps coming up, talk about like what should the Canucks do? Like, eventually,
I have no idea.
Eventually, you run it over one too many times, and it's the same people over and over. But that's at least interesting in its own way.
Well, that's what I really like actually about Andy. What you did your NFL helmet rankings, and then you did your NHL jersey rankings. Like those are great threads because it gets discussion going, and it's not unveiling related, but we can just all talk about what we like or what we don't like.
I'm glad you guys dig them. I got MLB caps is my next list.
Although, what the hell are you fucking thinking? The Montreal Canadiens that low? Come on now.
That's what I'm saying, and the Rangers too. Fuck off.
That's the Yankees pinstripes of hockey. I'll have you know, and I'm not even a Canadiens fan.
Listen, you guys got a problem. You take it up on the board. All right, I don't want to hear it. My list. I'll defend it.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I just want to go back to, I forgot to bring this up way back when we were talking about Teal and his accuracy. I always forget the guy's name, but there was that one dude that nailed every single NFL uniform. He was exactly right. He was like, you're going to like 3, you're going to be not so crazy about 2. But remember that? Mike, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's a crazed man or crazy man, something like that. I forget the dude's name, but he's like, Colts and Patriots are blah. Like Bucks, Browns, Chargers, you're gonna love.
Yeah.
And Falcons, Rams, you're gonna hate. And he was
dead on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least for us anyway. But
I mean, truly, my favorite thing about sports logos and the boards is kind of how the sausage is made and the Nike, Adidas speak that we've come to love and hate for various reasons.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
I'm curious, Greg, you mentioned you had an outro for the show.
I do. Shall we play it?
I guess, unless you guys have anything else. I'm exhausted of I have nothing else. You guys have taken all my thoughts on the board.
Once I hit it, we're done. So if we got any final thoughts, share them now or forever hold your peace.
I'm good.
Okay. I hear scratching.
That's my beard, sorry.
Oh, that's my beard.
Well, here, I guess one final thing. Do we have any threads that aren't in the gold mine that need to be?
Yes. I'll let DG now make my case for me, but yes, the Creamer metrics that I created should be in the gold mine. Dennis, if you're still listening. There's a couple others too. I was thinking about, because I ran across one. I'm like, why isn't this in the gold mine? But I can't think of what they are off the top of my head now. So
all of the GTOV threads should be in the gold mine.
Of course, absolutely, everything.
They need to be archived. I can't. I mean, it seems like I should have answered this question. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head.
And then because it's always the most asked board question, just a quick yes or no. Do we revive the ugliest bathroom?
No.
I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna say yes. I want to see what Headley says when he only has one avenue.
All right, just
I'd be
based on
okay
that
with
alone, I'm changing my vote to yes, just based on the Headley thing alone.
And we limit him even further. He can only post in the ugliest bathroom, but he can only post in one thread, and that thread is entitled "I blew $10,000 to watch my team choke a 28-3 lead away in the Super Bowl."
We have got to make that happen. We have got to make that happen. All right, is that it, fellas?
Yep,
Think so.
I'm good.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Hey, guys, everybody that was in the chat, thanks for tuning in. And sorry for the technical problems, but you know how it is. You've been following us for 8 years now. You know this shit happens to us. So we'll see y'all next week. We'll do it live again and see if we can do it a little bit better. See you next time.
Adios. Keep listening to Basically a Sports Show normally.
Oh, that's
Like,
right.
subscribe, hit the bell.
Right. Smash that. What is it? Smash that bell?
Smash
that
that
like button.
Ring
Like
that
and
bell.
subscribe.
Annihilate that bell. Just
Right. Exactly.
destroy it.
All right, folks. We will catch y'all next week. Thanks again for tuning in, and sorry again for all the problems. We'll try. We'll be better next week.